State Farm Insurance this morning. Erin, good morning to you, and thanks for being a part of the conversation. Every couple of weeks, we get a chance to hang out with you here on the Morning Zoo and talk about life in general. And you're not any planned trips at all, or I know I teased you when about like going to the Amazon or like that, but you actually go to some really interesting places out there.
Yeah, we have a little bit of fun. We're at the stage of Kathy and I talked years and years ago when as long as we're healthy, let's go to places while we can still hike up, sides of mountains and climb down and swim and do things that'll be much more difficult in our 70s. So yeah,
Yep.
we definitely are working hard and playing hard.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you joining us this morning, and we've got this QR code up on the side because we're going to be talking about that part of the conversation in just a little bit. In regards to, you've got some positions there at Erin Doan State Farm Insurance that you are hiring for, but let's talk a little bit about workplace and and that environment. And you had highlighted a couple of things that you wanted to talk about in regards to productivity, teamwork, collaboration, as well as some additional topics. Let's kind of jump into that. And as we do, I guess my question to you is, why do you want this to be something that the listeners that are working, the employers out there that are listening as well, why do you want them to grasp hold of some of this?
Well, I think a big part of kind of who I am as a person is just to really try to make things better. We all do, but I'm trying to do it from a leadership position as a business owner and as a community leader, just to encourage business owners to have the best work environment that they can have. To really look at their employees as being the most important asset, in terms of who works for them. And that's an ongoing daily thing, to make sure that you are actually, as the manager, owner, supervisor, your job is to help support and serve your employees and your teams to create great working environments so that they can feel successful, they can feel protected, and they have every opportunity to succeed, to take care of their family. So on the employee side, I just think it's really important to understand that, also your responsibility is to work really hard to serve, to make your employer and your place of work the best that it can be. And when we do that from both sides, Chris,
Mhm.
it makes our community really strong and a great place to work and a great place to live. So if we can all do our part in helping our employers to do well, to do really well, to have a phenomenal and great attitude. And the same thing as supervisors is you have to work harder to make sure your people are doing well and they're feeling encouraged, they're feeling challenged. They want accountability as long as they know the expectations and you don't just randomly change them without them really knowing. Clear
Absolutely.
set, definitions is super important.
Let's do this as well, and I want to dive more into this, but sometimes with earbuds we get a little bit of a burp here and there, and we're getting that
Mhm.
right now. So I'm going
Sure.
to I'm going to have you. I'm going to just hide your spot for just a second so that you can move from earbuds to just the audio there, and then we'll dive more into this. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance this morning. Uh, Enhanced collaboration, increased productivity as well. That's always an important part of a workplace environment. And let's see if we've got if we've got good audio on you now. And let me see if we can bring your camera back in here for us. Erin, are you with us now?
Uh, Absolutely. Is that better with the earbuds
Yeah,
out?
I
Okay.
think that works out okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks for doing that. It is a when we talk about workplace environment, what is the most important for you when it comes to collaboration? One of the benefits you highlighted is enhanced collaboration, but what does that mean?
Well, I think it's an understanding of where each person on the team and what their role is, and to know, like, yeah, to really do excellent in your role, but also to be flexible. When you're able to help each other in certain tasks or situations, when your job is under control and there's an environment where you're just trying to collaborate and understand where each other's coming from, some of the things that you're challenged with, it maybe isn't going as well. And when you are open enough and there's an environment from the employer to have good conversations and try to do things better as a team, I like to call it, just instead of being independent or dependent, is we're interdependent and we're helping each other. I think really good problem solving teams create innovation when they're being interdependent and working with each other in collaboration.
What about, how do you encourage teamwork though without it feeling kind of forced or overly structured? Is that even possible?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, and that really comes back to each team member. I think realizing that, perhaps there are people on the team that are going through some things in their own personal life, and there's times where, as a supervisor, is just to have really open and honest conversations about how can I help you be, a better collaborator, because there's times where, there could be somebody on the team that's just really struggling with things, either at the job or at home, and just having a realization that there's a lot of things that happen outside of work that really can impact the workplace. So to have great collaboration, you have to be open and honest with your employer, and the employer has to, within reason, within what's correct and the right thing to do, is just get some kind of understanding about how to help them the best that you can. And collaboration takes time. It's not just like a one-time thing. It's a daily, ongoing thing to try to build better teamwork. And I just know that it works much better when you're all doing it together and you're all pulling in the same direction.
Absolutely. We're talking with Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance this morning here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Um, how do you surround yourself? This is a question that I was writing earlier, but how do you surround yourself with the right people to impact motivation and productivity day to day? Because, people feed off of you, but you also feed off of other people.
Yeah, I think it comes back to is the person in and of themselves. There's this analogy of an iceberg in the water, and if you think about what you can see from an iceberg, obviously in the Titanic, that didn't go well with what was under the water, right? So you have to have a realization of the things above the water. So those would be things, that you can see, like job performance and, showing up on time. They look nice and clean. They talk well. But the things under the water, Chris, those are values. What's important to you, your work ethic, things that, we don't always see in terms of character, is you're trying to find really a person of good character that has a reputation for that. And having those kind of people on your team will make, over time, the better chances of success and collaboration and having better productivity, because they're just good people.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Erin Doan from Erin Doan State Farm Insurance joins us this morning here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. How do you handle miscommunication or difficult conversations in a way that keeps kind of the morale intact, though? Because not everything is roses and and
Hunky
everything.
dory, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's really this understanding that real life happens, and so things go well, things don't go well, but I think it's just a matter of how you react to them. If you set up a good standard of what's expected and you're engaged daily, I think miscommunication can happen, but I think the more often that you can be in communication with things that are not maybe working, or perhaps reflecting back on that on a conversation that you overheard, and to not be critical for critical sake, but can we provide constructive criticism? Can we encourage that employee to understand, hey, here's, how might that have been a little different? How could I have, that maybe have gone a little different direction? And to kind of role play, have that conversation and talk it through. And I think the better that we can do that and try to, not always have a stick, and quite frankly, not always have a carrot, but just be real and do it in a way that's not condemning or the best constructive criticism that we can get. So we have to stop and pause before we communicate. Before you, as an employee or as a supervisor, something comes out of your mouth, think about it. What is what I'm going to say? How is that going to impact this employee? And you're right, Chris. Sometimes you have to have, I call it tough love. Even with an employees, you have to be clear and honest, and help them understand by communicating differently how that's going to help.
Absolutely. Good information there as we continue the conversation. Let's kind of go down that hole just for a few more moments when it comes to culture alignment. And when we look at that, cultural alignment is kind of something you don't always see on paper. But how do you know when someone's a good fit for the team? You interview prospects, and we're going to be talking about, you're looking for some staff members here in a moment, and this kind of brings it full circle. You're going to be looking for some of these qualities, but how do you know when somebody's a good fit for the team? Even in those early phases, the interview process, the first couple of days, you don't want to make a mistake in the sense, but you've been doing this long enough that you kind of know, I would assume.
Yeah, I think it's a how do I describe it? Probably the best way to do that is know that you're trying to find out where this person, who they are as a person, and obviously in the interview process you have to be careful to not specifically quantify something personal, but a lot of times maybe a great question would be is, tell me about the times perhaps in high school. What was high school like for you, and you leave it open. And I think that can give a perspective of just, what things do they bring up? What is that element of what they focus on, and what's in the top of their mind? Because oftentimes, even if you give them some time to, like, take your time to think it through a little bit about what you want to say, but what's there oftentimes will give you a sense to the future. And, as we're working and deciding who's going to be on the team, it is really important about, what has happened. It doesn't mean that you can't change. We all change. But, a lot of the history and background does portray into how you will interact in a job. And with our customers and being a good neighbor, there's definitely elements of being, obviously super honest, open, communicating well, going back to that topic, and helping people have good understandings. And then, great question is, tell me about a time where were struggling or something didn't happen well at your last job, and describe what that was, and give us a really good understanding of how you were able to help that situation that was not going well. How did you make that better, and what did that look like? So that gives you a really good word picture of, first of all, what was that example they gave, right? Is it a good, relevant example that was truly challenging, like in our world of dealing in the public with challenging things of, protecting people and taking their money from premium standpoint, and that's a challenge in tougher inflationary and higher interest times like we're in now. How are you going to be able to handle, those situations when somebody's really frustrated or upset? And now oftentimes it's not necessarily about their insurance. Oftentimes it's something else going on in their life, and how are you going to be able to respond?
Well, and we see ourselves, or we see our employees, that they grow as they move from this job to that job. We obviously don't want to see them job hop too much, because then there's a foundation that you build as you stay at an employer, and you go through the highs and the lows. But just as you and I, we started out when we were 15, 16 years old, working at a job, and we grew over time, and we
Mhm.
learned over time, and we progressed, and we learn as we go. And so, good information there. Erin, you are hiring there too. You have a small intimate staff already, but it's always nice to see some expansion, some new faces that appear from time to time. And before I even have you respond to that, we had a comment on our Facebook page from Patrick Shin. He says, "Looking good, Erin." So he's giving you a compliment there, and he kind of
Thanks, Pat.
yeah, and he went even further, and he was
Oh
listening to
no.
comments, and he said, "Leadership, not management." And I think
Yes,
that's a good, important statement, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, and in fact, I I'll be the first to tell people live, and you're like, "Oh, do I want to work for this guy?" But I'm not the best manager. But I can tell you that two of my team members in particular, come from really good management backgrounds, and that's Heather Bush, who was 7 years at the West Shore Family Support Center, and Tamiana has been a manager now for 9 years, and 5 years for me as an office manager here in my office working, for me. So to have, those two as managers, and what I like to do is lead and coach and listen, and encourage, and cheerlead, and kind of do some of those things with team members along the way. And that's more of the line that I come from, is more of a leadership than a manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about if somebody's interested in being a part of your team. We have a QR code up there that they can scan, and we'll put the link in the comment section on our Facebook page as well. But take us through what does it mean working for Erin Doan State Farm Insurance?
Yeah, I think what it means is, yeah, thanks, Chris. I think what it means is having an opportunity to work at a place where, we are all working independently. And we want to make sure that you feel over time that you can have a really good understanding of our insurance and financial products, understand our computers, really start to develop and understand over time the community and the needs, and really help people understand what their risks of everyday life are. So much of us, what we see is through social media or the media in terms of accidents or things that happen. But we have about, just in my office alone, Chris, about 600 claims a year. And that's auto, home, life, people passing away, and disabilities. And so policies that we sell, we deal with that on a day-to-day basis. So working with us is we're going to help you take step by step, understanding more about our business, the technical elements, but also just the human element. And the best employee, the best candidate that we would love to talk to is somebody who's really looking, that has good ability to deal and work and help people, but also can get things done. They understand the details. So it can be a pretty unique person. It can be an accountant type that's that works with people and can be friendly, or it can be a really loving and warm, friendly person that just get things done. It gets the details done. So I'd like to say, if it's on a scale of 0 to 100, or something like that, or one end to the other, of being a real people person versus being a real technical person, you're probably a person, the best fit would be somebody in the middle, and somebody that's got a good combination of people skills and technical and detail skills, and will help you learn day by day. As each month goes by, we're going to help you understand more and make it a good place and take care of you and help you have a really good employment experience.
Great information. Well, we always enjoy the conversations, and there's more to dive into in a couple of weeks in regards to workplace environment. You work with the men's group locally in the Ludington area that to help better from within, and so we're always having and always diving into those elements of conversation, and we look forward to it as well. Is there anything that we missed talking about today that is important to you before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say just understand that we are looking in terms of applying for a position. Is I think it's good to uncover and understand more about. I'm not sure that I want to be in insurance or financial services business, but the one thing I can tell you is that it's a stable industry, and we are growing at State Farm. So just have the understanding that if you are looking for an opportunity to develop, and to being a salesperson, or being a service person and having a career. I've really worked hard to have great paid time off, to have benefits in retirement, to have health insurance. And for a small company, I think many of you that are listening would know that can be super challenging, but I am investing in my team. The people resource is the most important to me. And so if you come and consider joining our team, and you make the team, just know that I'm going to take care of you and do really well for you and make sure that you have the best experience possible in working on my team.
And you have great camaraderie there. You have fun times. You have great, lunchtime parties and
Yeah.
all kinds
Well,
of
Wednesday night we're going to throw axes, if that matters.
That's awesome. Very
At the
cool.
new axe place in Ludington.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think
So
that's great.
hopefully
Well,
we don't throw them at each other, right?
that's right. No, no workers' comp or
No,
anything.
no, no.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. If somebody wants to reach out to you, again, we'll put the link in the comment section and on our Facebook pages and our YouTube channel. There's the QR code that somebody could scan right now on this video. But for all of our listeners out there, how can they reach you?
Yeah, you can reach us by phone. Give us a call. And if you want to get the link to apply for a position or to get a quote on insurance, you can call us at 231-757-3115 or find us online at ludingtoninsurance.com. ludingtoninsurance.com.
All right, sounds great. Erin, thanks so much for being a part of the conversation this morning here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.